Let's start in the NFL, where the controversy over the national anthem continues to escalate. Yesterday, it was reported that owners are considering a rule change that will require players to stand for the anthem. And Commissioner Roger Goodell sent a letter to teams saying the league wants everyone to stand. Not surprisingly, some players are already pushing back, with the Eagles' Malcolm Jenkins saying a rule change won't be very effective.
I think we've seen that even over the last year that you can take a player out of the league, you can threaten to do whatever you want to do. That's not going to deter players from doing what's right or doing what they believe is right. And so you might be able to change the manner in which that looks, but I don't see players stopping their pursuit for, justice or equality.
All right, Tampa Bay's Gerald McCoy went a step further, saying, quote, I think it's going to be a negative reaction. I don't think guys are going to like it. I think it's going to be a uproar if that's to happen, because you're basically taking away a constitutional right to freedom of speech. Cowherd, who's to blame for the controversy engulfing the NFL?
The iPhone. It's toppled governments, corporations, CEOs. This is the world we live in. It is the strongest drug of the 21st century, the iPhone, and young people often get addicted to it, and they're empowered by it, certainly. And I think if you're post 50 and you're an owner and you don't understand how powerful and how fluid these situations are, you have made a grave mistake. And I think this is the world we live in now. Young people use technology like old people used to use the typewriter. And I think maybe, the Jerry Jones and the commissioners of the league, you better understand this is an avalanche, and it doesn't slow down for anybody.
I heard you talk about this on your radio show this morning, and I thought you were making excellent points. And I do think we don't understand social media, its impact, its influence on young people, and that we carry around this phone, and it does influence us. But there's someone being paid $40-some-odd million a year to lead this league, and they're getting paid for foresight. And so I'm looking at a league right now that it's October. We're not that far from Thanksgiving. We're 5-6 weeks into the football season, and we're still talking about the national anthem when this should have been handled during the offseason. February, March, April, May, June, July. This is when you put into effect this new rule, because you have the foresight to see, look at where this country's headed. Look what's going on. Look at the conversation in this country. Look at how our whole offseason was dominated by Colin Kaepernick. Is he going to sign? Why didn't they sign him? You should have known this was coming and implemented these type rules and had this argument and debate during the offseason. We're in the middle of the season, and people are meeting with the commissioner and owners are meeting, talking about the national anthem. I blame ownership and a lack of leadership.
Well, I think you'd have to be a voodoo lady. I'm looking to a crystal ball to know that this is going to happen. I mean, when you look at it, it's a big problem. And, you can't make players stand. It's like saying, I'm going to make you stand. What do you say? If I don't stand, then what? I mean, say to all the players, say, you know what? If you're making us stand, all of us leaving the field. We're not going to play. No, nobody's going to play. Now what happens? What do you think the sponsor's going to say? Well, hey, wait a minute now. We want a football game. I mean, what do? You
tell the NBA guys that they have to stand, and they stand.
That's the NBA. It's NFL.
Right. The NFL guys want those game checks even more than the NBA guys. They won't even go into a lockout. So there's no way they're going to risk losing game checks.
I'm not saying it would happen, but it can happen. Anything can happen. It can. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it can happen. Because when all of a sudden you tell a guy, look, you're going to wear this gray jacket. You're going to wear this gray. I don't have to. I can wear my black jacket.
I see truth on both of your sides.
Yes.
But on the reason why, Christine, is because this is a racial issue.
And
people get emotional.
I get that.
And logic sometimes goes out the window.
Well, that's why I don't really like the word blame in this question, because I think it has a negative connotation. And for me personally, and listen, I understand the way that everyone believes, and you have a right to think whatever you want, but I don't believe that kneeling is a direct hit on people who serve for the country and who have. I have veterans in my family currently serving or who have, and I'm not offended by people kneeling. I think they're just saying they don't appreciate what the flag stands for right now, which is equality. They don't feel like everyone is being treated equal, which is true. I also don't think that kneeling is going to accomplish what they want to do ultimately. You also have to back that up and talk. That said, I understand it's affecting the business of the NFL. And I think in order to get your message to as many people as possible, you have to have the platform. And when you start hurting the business, you're taking away from your platform. So I actually really like what the NFL is doing now and saying, and I hope they stick to it, we're going to help you figure out other ways to use the football platform that doesn't require you kneeling. You can do something else. And then let's work together to find a way to get the message across. Because I will admit, we are all talking about this subject because everyone's kneeling, and I don't want to blame them for that.
We're talking about the national anthem, though.
We are, but it also is, yes, and that's where the majority of the conversation is, but we are talking about equality issues too.
Well, if we were, I think what the people that are upset by the kneeling would argue is that, okay, let's map out America's history from 1776 to right now. Mm-hmm. Are we more equal now than we were at any point along this dotted line? And I think a lot of people would say yes. And so...
But a lot of people also don't understand because it's not in their face. And I say that all the time. Just because something doesn't directly affect you doesn't mean that it's not real.
You know, part of this is about, there is a sense among players that, listen, man, we don't want our free speech muzzled, but speech has never been freer. I can literally communicate with the president of the United States within 90 seconds. So it is interesting that players are, I think, feeling like I can't express myself, but frankly, between Twitter, Facebook, commercials, players have never been more viable in my life. They've never been more heard, discussed. Now, by the way, almost all of the shows we're doing now, there's at least 2 athletes on the panel. So it is interesting. Players are like, hey, man, we want our voices heard. Whatever side you fall on, I've never heard from more players about more topics.
And about more things that they know very little about. I would agree. I think players, NFL players, probably more than any other professional athletes, don't like their jobs. And I look at a lot of people that would rather be doing what we're doing than their current job.
It's not that you don't like the job. You love the team you play with. You love your guys. You hate the establishment. You hate what they stand for. I'll give you a good example. The NFL asked me to do a thing during the Hall of Fame week. What I do, where they would come and ask me, how do retired players feel about the NFL? I said, you want me to do it? She said, yeah. I said, okay, no problem. I said, you sure? She said, yes. I said, all right. Came down to breakfast. It was 2, a girl and a guy. She said, Eric, I want to talk to you about how do you feel about the NFL? I said, now, how do I really feel? Yeah, I say, first of all, I hate the NFL. I said, I think they're a bunch of crooks and liars. And I said even more. Lawrence Taylor was walking by. I said, LT. I said, watch this. How do you feel about the NFL? What? The NFL? I hate them. I said, that's how most players feel. Richard Dent, how you feel? Man, I hate the NFL. That's how most players feel about the NFL.
But isn't that business in general?
No,
I don't
not
think
really.
NBA guys hate the NBA.
I don't think they hate the NBA.
There are many.
Because you know why? Because they have guaranteed contract. When you're done with the NFL, and when you finish playing in football, it's like get out, don't come back, don't even come back to visit. We want tickets to the game. You can buy them like everyone else.
That's how
that is how they treat you, unless you're a superstar. Now, it's a superstar. I'm telling you, I know. I'm telling you, you can laugh all you want.
You want to bring that back up?
I can most definitely all day long. I can bring guys and say, oh man, I know how they treat you.
NBA players do not. I think most NBA players, when they exit the sport...
Oh, I completely agree. There's a difference between basketball and the NBA. I'm just saying in life, many businesses are run as shrewd businesses. And I don't think we're taking away your freedom of speech.